Hello, my name is Maya. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a non-spoiler and spoiler review of The Batman. I saw it Wednesday, which was the fan first exclusive event. I was one of maybe over 100 people in North America to see The Batman first. So whoa, I feel honored. I paid $17, so I really earned that ticket. Anyways, if you haven't seen it and you just want like a quick non-spoiler review as to whether you should go see it, that's what I'll start with. And then I will transition into spoilers, and if you don't mind hearing spoilers or you've seen it already, then you can watch the rest of the video. But basically this is a non-spoiler portion. So this movie, in my opinion, was really great, and I've heard that it's gotten a very positive response, and I can see why. This Batman is very much not like the other Batmans. She's not like other girls. But they really went for a more dark, gritty, dirty Batman. They really emphasized Gotham being a very disgusting, crime-ridden place with really bad social economics and just a huge poverty problem and just corruption within all the systems of Gotham that needs to be solved. They went with having Batman just be a lot darker and twitchier, a lot more darker, I would say. Not that the other Batmans were light. Batman's not known for being light, but like he was like a dark angsty, if that makes any sense. There's just a darker tone. There was a darker tone over the entire movie. The music was quite dark and gritty, though they only played the same like 4 songs over and over again. They had some dark comedy, but like even the tonal colors of the movie was like dark gray. A lot of scenes were set in blackness or like very dark gray. It was raining all the time. The costuming was very bleak, very basic, very run down. They really went for a lot of a darker tone, and I really liked that. I really appreciated it. This was also more of an artsy Batman movie in my opinion. I think that they had some interesting shots. They tried new things. I really liked how the director, though not all the shots were like my favorite in the entire world, the director and cinematography, they tried something new and they had some interesting scenes. I really liked a lot of their fight scenes. I thought they were all very immaculately done. I really like creativity in fight scenes, and I really thought that the Batman brought that. The acting was really good. Everyone gave it their all. I would like to have a special shout out to the actor who played the Riddler. He fucking nailed it. Robert Pattinson as the Batman, he did good. In my personal opinion, it wasn't my favorite Batman. I liked him in the suit. I really was a little bit on the edge about like Bruce Wayne and the portrayal of like Bruce Wayne, but I'll get to that in like the spoiler version. I personally I liked a lot of what Robert Pattinson brought. I liked how he was a bit more of like just like a dark twitchy guy. Very awkward, very weird, very reclusive, but I don't know, I felt like he kind of took it a little bit too far. And that was also just the movie's portrayal, the story they were trying to tell. I think Zoe Kravitz did a good job as Catwoman. I don't like the Batman and Catwoman relationship in this movie. To me, it was not very good. Like, it was a very poorly done relationship. I understand what they were going for, because I do understand that the Catwoman and Batman, it's not like a typical romance story. I understand that it's very sex-based, but in my opinion, it was very lackluster. That was just me. I just wasn't feeling it. But basically, this is also like a very much of a murder mystery Batman. So if you're interested in that type of like scheme of format of storytelling, it was really great. The inciting incident is basically the mayor is murdered, and we actually get to see the mayor's murder. It's our opening scene, and it's phenomenally done. I really loved the opening scene. I think it really brings you into the movie and it tells you what the theme's gonna be. We see a very violent, dark, kind of disgusting, very uncomfortable murder of the mayor. Then we see Batman. He does a lot of narration in this movie. I'm not a huge fan of the narration, but I understand its purpose. I get why we had the narration. Basically, they're trying to figure out who murdered the mayor, and then there's another string of murders that follow, and the person who's the murderer, who I shan't reveal, but I think you probably can guess, they end up trying to reveal this corruption within Gotham, and you kind of see that go through. It's really well done. I really liked the relationship between Jim Gordon and the Batman. I really liked that. It was really cute. I love the little bromance going on there. That's the non-spoiler. I would say this is worth watching. If you really were on the fence and you're like, I don't know, it's a good movie. It's a really good movie. It's worth your time. It's worth your money. It's worth going to the theaters. I think seeing it in theaters is worth it. I would think that you'd want that on the big screen. I think it augmented the experience. I wouldn't want to watch it for the first time on a streaming service. I liked the big screen. So I think it's worth your time. And I think it's a really good movie that if you like the Batman and you want a really dark kind of vibe, it gives me kind of Joker energy, but it's not as Joker, if you know what I mean. Now we're gonna move on to spoilers, so like click off if you don't want spoilers. I'm just gonna go through the spoilers section and give like things I liked and things I disliked. So we'll start with things I liked. I really enjoyed the Riddler's performance. I am not like the biggest Riddler gal. I've seen him portrayed maybe like once or twice before, and I kind of understand the assignment of the Riddler. I get that he's kind of got those multiple personalities going on. I understand that he really likes clues. I understand that he's a very weird, awkward dude, that he's kind of a bit crazy, as are all Gotham villains. I've never seen the Riddler portrayed like this before, and I've not seen all Batman works, so I don't know if this is in some other Batman, but I really appreciated it. I thought it was a very darker take. You know, when you think of the Riddler, you think of his stupid question mark suit. No, this was very different. The question mark was in a mug at one point, but I just, like, from the get-go was very much intrigued and really liked this take on the Riddler. We first are introduced to the Riddler in his first murder. We see him murder the mayor, and I think we immediately get the idea of who the Riddler is and what's going on with him. And there's no lines of dialogue from the Riddler at all in this scene, but it's all in the way that the actor acts the murder. And there's a lot of heavy breathing, so if you're uncomfortable with like heavy breathing, maybe don't watch this movie. Basically, we see him surveying outside the mayor's office, and then we see him going inside as soon as the mayor's family leaves and he's all alone. And we see the mayor, he's making this phone call because he's like scared because there's a mayoral election going on right now, and his opponent seems to be tying him in the polls. And this opponent, throughout the entire course of the story, this opponent is meant to be a new face for Gotham. She's meant to bring Gotham back into the light. She's kind of the opposing face. We see billboards for her campaign throughout the entire time. We see snippets of her. In the end, she becomes quite relevant because obviously as the mayor dies, she's the only one running. She gets to be mayor, right? We see him go in and we see him kind of pop up behind the mayor, and it's a very chilling scene. He just stands there and he's just staring, and I love he's got this mask that covers basically his entire face, but he's still got glasses on, so he looks like a fucking weirdo. It's like burlap sack, and then it's kind of like his costume, and it just looks so uncomfortable. And I know there's cellophane wrap underneath it too, and he looks so uncomfortable, but it really gives you the vibe of like, oh god, like it makes you uncomfortable when you see him standing there. And it's not supposed to be like a jump scare or anything, it's just supposed to make you uncomfortable. And then he kind of disappears from the shot, and the mayor continues his conversation and all that, and then we see him like just run full force, and he kills him with a carpet. The cop explained it at the end. It was like a carpet popper-upper, like to pull when you're taking a carpet off, you pop it up. It's one of those things. Carpet lever, I don't know what it's called. And he kills him with one of those, and he like just rampantly hits him over the head, and he goes again and again, and there's this point where he gets on top of him and he's hitting him, and he takes, like, he's sitting on top, like, he takes his breath, and in the way that he's breathing, like, heavily, like, he's heavily breathing, like, it's, like, the entire time. It's so, like, it's a very creepy, uncomfortable breathing, and he's sitting there, and he's on top of, like, his murdered victim, and he's still, like, breathing so heavily, and, like, from my point of view, at least, I kind of got the deal that, like, he was very excited by this murder, and if you know what I mean, he was turned on by this murder, and, like, the way that he, like, was breathing, like, so excitedly, like, he couldn't contain himself, and it was, like, a very creepy, weird breathing. It's like he got kicks off of it, and they even had, like, a shot where like he was breathing, he was on top, and like they panned down to like the dick area, and I legitimately thought he was gonna start masturbating on him. That did not happen, but that's kind of like the energy that I got, and I actually really thought that was such an interesting take. I really liked that. It was not like it was like written in front of us, but like you can look at him and his murders and you can think, oh my god, like he got off on that, you know. And I thought the actor did just a phenomenal job. He, again, no lines of dialogue. It was all in the breathing and the mannerisms, and he like duct taped his victim's entire face and he staged it, and you could just tell that like he enjoyed this. Like this was fun for him. And like it's creepy. It makes you uncomfortable when you're watching it, and that's exactly what I want from my villains. I want to be made uncomfortable. I don't want them to just jump scare me. I want to be genuinely terrified to ever be in a room with them and his carpet scraper. And like throughout the rest of the movie, it was the same deal. The actor did such a good job. Like that's all I can say. Like throughout the movie, when you know he would kind of change his mannerisms a little bit, and you can kind of tell that he had the dual personalities going on in his head. I mean, another like standout scene, he gets the DA and he puts a bomb on the DA, and it's attached to the cell phone, and he like makes the DA drive a car into the middle of the mayor's funeral, and he like, you know, on the middle, of course, it says for Batman, and he's like, I'm just a call away, and he keeps leaving these cards for Batman that write like that have like ciphers in them, that have riddles in them for the Batman to solve. And so he's like in kind of constant communication, and so like he drives him in. Obviously like Bruce Wayne was there. So he like went and got changed in the bathroom. I don't know where he went and got changed, but he went and got changed. And he came back out in his Batman outfit, and he walks over, and like the phone's ringing, and he opens the card and says, I'm just a call away. And so he answers the FaceTime, and the Riddler's on the other side of the FaceTime, and he's like so excited that the Batman's there. And it basically is trying to get the DA to reveal who the name of the rat is. Because what ended up happening is the Mulrooney family, I think that's what their names were taken down by a confidential informant who turned on them. That confidential informant ended up being Falcone. This is spoiler section, spoilers. It ended up being Falcone. And Falcone now owns a bunch of cops, the DA, the mayor, because he took down Mulrooney's like dope business, but he also took over his dope business, and these cops and the mayor are helping him with the dope business to get it back up off the ground. And the Penguin, he's also like Falcone's right-hand man, right, as he is usually portrayed. The actor who played the Penguin also did a phenomenal job. But anyways, back to this scene. He's trying to get him to reveal that scheme, right? Like he wants him to reveal that scheme to Batman, but also he's live streaming this on the news. So he's trying to get that to reveal like to the people of Gotham. He gives this DA 3 riddles to solve. And if he solves all 3 riddles, he'll give him the code to the bomb so it can turn off. So he does the first riddle, and the DA has no idea. And to be fair, I too suck at riddles and probably would have gotten blown up, but luckily the Batman, he's gonna answer the riddles for him. And you can see like as the DA, you know, like starts giving out information, like the Riddler gets excitedly more intense and exciting. Like he gets close to the tent and he's like starting to yell, and the breathing gets more heavily, like you can, it's just so well done. And then like you get to the last question and he's like, well, who's the rat? And the DA refuses to reveal it because obviously, like, if he reveals it, then his people he loves are gonna die, right? You got blackmail going on multiple levels here. And so he blows up, and then we get one of the best scenes where, like, the Batman's unconscious and the police take him back to the police station. He's, like, lying on his little tarp. And they're like, should we take the mask off? Like, should we take it off? And and they're like, no. And then like he wakes up, and he's like, and there's like 100+ cops, and Jim Gordon ends up like trying to get him out. And there's a scene where he's just running along the hallways of the cop, and there's like a bunch of cops just following him. Oh, it was so funny. Anyways, back to the Riddler. And then so they capture the Riddler, and it's actually his plan to get captured. He had more to it. He actually had built up this online following of, it was exactly 507 followers when he got arrested. I don't know why I remember that, but it was. And it was like on Twitter. He had been basically getting these people to join him in his quest to reveal the corruption within Gotham. I really thought that was an interesting take on terrorism, because that was a type of indoctrination. And he basically was calling upon his followers once he had been arrested. According to his plan, he was going to set up a bunch of trucks along the outside of Gotham to let water come in, because Gotham's an island. His followers were going to go to the big stadium where the mayoral-elect, she was going to be giving her acceptance speech, but also, since that was the safe haven for when a disaster happens in Gotham, the rest of the citizens would be there, and then they would be up in the rafters and they would like mass kill them. So it was a very intense plan. But he gets arrested and he asks to see the Batman in prison, and we get one of like a cinematic masterpiece scene, if you ask me myself, because the Batman comes in and the Riddler, again, the fucking acting, and also like just having the song Ave Maria play throughout, but also like have it be connected to the Riddler was a really good choice. But also, once we get to the soundtrack, we'll see how I wasn't a huge fan of a bunch of the soundtrack. But back to the scene. Basically, Batman comes in and the Riddler's like super excited. But it's funny because he starts off talking to him by just continuously saying Bruce Wayne. And the way that the actor said it was, I mean, it was so well done, because he just kept going, Bruce Wayne. But like he would get a continuous song, he'd go, Bruce. And I like the way that Robert Pattinson acted this scene, because the Batman's just standing there in silence, but you can see in his eyes, he's like, oh my fuck, does he know? And he like looks up at the security cameras where like there's voice, like they can hear him, and he's like, fuck, like he's revealing my identity, like what does he know? He doesn't say anything, but like the Riddler just continuously keeps going like, Bruce Wayne, and like you think like, oh my god, like he knows, because the Riddler in this movie, at least in my opinion, is quite intelligent. Though insane, he is intelligent. And you think, oh, like, fuck, he knows. Like, he was playing the long game. Because at one point, he actually tried to kill Bruce Wayne, but he got Alfred instead by accident. But then you're thinking, oh my god, maybe that was part of the plan, right? Like, maybe all along he knew that Batman was Bruce Wayne. And he was gonna, like, it was all part of this very long con. And he was trying to get to Bruce Wayne because, like, Thomas Wayne was, his foundation was involved in the corruption scheme. And Bruce Wayne was his last target. And then he goes on this rant about how Bruce Wayne was given a lot of sympathy when his parents died and was treated like an orphan. However, he can't possibly be an orphan like the rest of the orphans because he was a billionaire orphan. And you can kind of see where he's coming from, because Bruce was, yes, obviously, the trauma of losing your parents, no matter how much money you have, is not something that like you want to brush over. Obviously that's very traumatic, watching your parents get murdered in front of you, and it doesn't matter how much money you have, it's not going to heal the wounds that you have. However, the Riddler's point was, hey, me as an orphan, I had to live in an orphanage, and I had to share a room with 12 other people, and there were rats in there, and I was bullied, and like, you know, no one wanted me. And how can we compare experiences? How can people give sympathy to Bruce Wayne, this billionaire orphan who, yes, his parents had died, but he was living at the top tower in Gotham. He had all this money. He had Alfred. Where was the sympathy for us orphans who didn't have any of those things and were treated way worse? Where was our sympathy? And you're like, oh, not a bad point. Not the way to go about fixing the point, but not a bad point. And then like the Batman's like, okay, you dissing me, bro. Like, what's going on? And then after that very long speech, and you're like, oh shit, like he knows. Like, this was his long game. He's like, he's the one we didn't get, huh, Batman? And you're like, oh no, he doesn't know. He just went on this, it was like a whole like misdirect. That scene was so good. And then he was like, the Batman, we were like working together. And he was like, the Batman was like, no. And like throughout the entire scene, you can see that the Riddler, he was very calm at the beginning. Like he was very sure that he and the Batman were on the same wavelength. But then as the Batman reveals that that was not the case, he gets more and more agitated. I think he starts banging on the glass, if I remember correctly. Like he gets really, really agitated. And then he's like, oh, well, I thought we could watch the destruction together. And Batman's like, wait, what? And then there's like, you idiot, I thought you were smart. Girl. So then the Batman has to go really quickly rush and figure out the truck plan, right? That I had explained earlier. But oh my god, I freaking loved this guy's performance. I know I remember reading an article saying that the actor who played him had like slept in the cellophane mask and so that to really get into the character and how it had kind of driven him insane. And I want to say, dude, it was worth it. Like, I know that playing a Batman villain, I mean, it's usually the Joker that drives people crazy, but I think any Batman villain has the potential to kind of drive you a bit crazy. So, you know, I appreciate like him really taking that role very seriously because we don't usually see that when it comes to like the villains that aren't the Jokers. I'm not saying that like Tom Hardy didn't fucking nail it as Bane, but we don't usually see them kind of take it that far, you know, in their acting. Like, we don't see Heath Ledger's levels when it comes to the other villains. He did kind of take it there, and I really appreciate it. I think it was shown in his performance, and I want to make him the standout, at least in my eyes. I mean, Robert Pattinson did good, but he was not the standout for me. I just think that, like, I really appreciate the actor who played the Riddler. I think he did a phenomenal job. The movie ends with the Riddler at Arkham, the hospital. He's there, and he is like really like, he's like cry moaning, and again, a great scene. The actor gave it his all, but he ends up talking to like another cellmate, and I was unclear as to whether we were talking to Scarecrow or the Joker. I'm leaning more towards Scarecrow, but they did mention clowns, so I was like, oh, is that the Joker? I couldn't see, like, when I saw his face, like, he had the cut, and I know that Joker has the cut, but I also know that Scarecrow kind of has the cut, but he wouldn't be wearing his, like, cut mask in the cell, so it probably was Joker, but I don't know why I didn't really get Joker vibes. I got, like, Scarecrow vibes. I guess we'll find out in the second movie because I think they're gonna come back together. Yeah, I was a little bit confused as to who that was. Maybe someone else can tell me if they know for sure, because I definitely don't know for sure. It's either one for me. I don't know if they should maybe try the Joker because I feel like bringing the Joker, I don't know who the actor is. I don't know if he can really stand up to the level that we have right now for Jokers. Like, it's hard to come out there and be a Joker, you know? In the climate that we have. We've only had impeccable Jokers. It's hard to come out there and be the Joker. So good luck to you if you are the Joker. It's easier to be the Scarecrow. That was the first thing I love. I just really wanted to talk about that. I also just really thought that the dark atmosphere that was brought to Gotham in this movie, and Batman and all the villains, and the extra kind of gory dirtiness. Like, Batman was dirty. Everyone was just dirty. The entire thing was dirty. I loved that. I thought that was great. I liked the grittiness. I liked it. I liked how artsy it was. I enjoyed the creativity in, like, the scenes that we got. For instance, the car chase scene was great because the camera was placed on, like, the wheel or, like, the back dashboard or just weird parts of the car. So what you saw was weird angles of the chase scene. So it wasn't, like, a normal chase scene. It was a very weirdly, but you got everything you needed to see, but you got weird car angles, so sometimes you wouldn't see where the other person was, and I felt like that was such a cool way to do a car chase scene. Impeccable. I like appreciate how long it went on for, and I also appreciated how like they introduced the Batmobile before the car chase scene, because obviously the car chase scene was in the Batmobile, and before this he had been just riding on his motorcycle. He spends the majority of the show, the movie, the Batman on his little motorcycle, which was an interesting choice. But the Batmobile wasn't like super cool. It was kind of like dinky looking, TBH. Like, but that's okay because that was the vibe we were going for. Everything is dinky. He brings it out and he's like ready to chase down the penguin in his car because the chase scene is with the penguin. And he turns on his car and like I think it malfunctioned because it like petered off. And it was just the most pathetic thing, and I loved it. Because then he got it working again because the chase scene happened. But I just found that hilarious. Like, the way they introduced the Batmobile is for have it to, like, malfunction first. Oh, that was so funny. Oh, that was hilarious. Great car chase scene. There were some really great fight scenes. I highly enjoyed the one that was, you could only see the fights during the bullet firing. Completely dark room. Batman's fighting this way, coming towards you. Everyone else has guns and they're firing into the air trying to hit him, but they can't see him. But the only way you can see the fight is when they continuously fire through like the firing of their guns. A beautiful scene. I really liked the end rafter fight scene with Riddler's followers. Another impeccable scene. I liked how the Batman was kind of like getting his ass whooped at certain points. Like he got shot right in the chest and almost fell off. And if Catwoman hadn't come and saved him, then like he would have fallen. He got really angry because one of the Riddler followers was gonna like kill Catwoman, and then he beat him to a pulp. I liked all the fight scenes. They were really, really good. I liked the vibe and the energy that we brought to this. I liked the setting. I liked the tone. I really, really liked that. I also really liked the murder mystery element to it. I thought that was really well done. I liked how we slowly got the pieces put together. I like how it wasn't obvious at first that it was Carmine Falcone that was the rat, because you actually kind of do think that it's probably Penguin, right? Because that's just the Penguin way. Penguin's a rat. He's like, yeah, he's a rat. Like, he just is. Like, as a character, he's like a wimpy little rat. It ended up being Carmine Falcone, and I liked how the murder mystery not only revealed the Riddler, because we kind of knew who he was, but like revealed the identity of the Riddler, I guess, and it was kind of part of the big plan, but it also revealed the corruption and the layers of the corruption. And I really liked how not only did it kind of take down Gotham from like all levels, from the mayor to like street cops, but it also it took down Thomas and Martha Wayne. I feel like Thomas and Martha Wayne are always given this gold standard in all the Batman movies, mostly just because I feel like obviously we're seeing this from Batman's point of view, and obviously he is going to think highly of his father, and Alfred's gonna think highly of his father. But to find out that like in this Batman, at least the canon is that like Thomas basically had someone killed. Well, he didn't explicitly order the killing, but like he ordered him to be shut up, and Carmine Falcone was the person he turned to. And it was because this journalist was going to reveal that Martha Wayne's parents actually, like his mom, Martha's mom, killed her dad and then committed suicide, and they had covered it up. And Martha had been in psychiatric hospitals before, and Thomas was on the mayoral, he was on the campaign, he was campaigning for mayor. And this journalist was going to reveal this, and he had tried to bribe him, but the journalist said no. And so he turned to Carmine Falcone to strong-arm him, and then Carmine Falcone killed him and was going to blackmail Thomas. And then Thomas ended up, I think, saying no and said he was going to go with the cops. And then the night after, Thomas died. I also liked how we really got no answers. It was a toss-up between whether it was Mulroney or Falcone, or just like a random street thug, and we don't really know. But it kind of took away the curtain behind the curtain of Thomas Wayne, and I really liked that, because there's no way that a billionaire would not have any secrets, because there's just no way. I liked that. I liked the revealing of the corruption. I liked kind of the social implications that we were going for in this movie. I also really liked the kind of play on how Batman actually may have made Gotham worse, because you see that the Riddler was very much inspired a little bit by Batman and kind of saw him as an ally. And we actually see that in a lot of Batman villains. they don't really necessarily hate Batman. Like, Joker and Batman have a very complicated relationship, and you see the Riddler and the Batman in this movie had a very complicated relationship. Is the Batman actually doing good, or is the Batman actually doing worse? And it's kind of this toss-up where you're like, yes, the Batman does stop crime, but he's also creating all of these vigilantes, these villains for him to fight against. Like, he's the one, because he comes out as a vigilante, creating all these villains that follow him and try to take him down or want to work with him or, you know, like misunderstand him. And I really, really liked that. I really liked that commentary. I highly enjoyed seeing that play out, and I liked how even though Gotham was pretty much a cesspool, there was still like this glimmer of hope that if they were to, you know, maybe put their funds in the correct place and get rid of the corruption and kind of like allocate money better, and with this new mayor and with the Batman maybe seeing things from a different light, instead of being vengeance, he can be justice. There was some hope, even though like Gotham is pretty much at its lowest point. You can see that it reached the lowest point but could rise above. And I liked that, though. It was a very dark, gritty movie that showed really a lot of societal problems within it, mostly a lot to do with poverty and crime and how that is created and the problem and the cycle of that. It was nice to see that there was a glimmer of hope in a very dark movie, so I liked that. I also really liked the Jim Gordon and Batman relationship. I enjoyed how they had a bromance. I liked how Jim Gordon brought him to every single crime scene, and all the other cops were like pissy about it, but he was like, no, he's with me. I liked how Jim Gordon like broke him out of jail. I liked how Jim Gordon never really asked about his like identity. I liked how they were like trusting of each other. I liked how the Batman truly saw him as like one of the only good cops in the city and trusted him completely, and I liked how Jim Gordon trusted him completely. Great stuff. Great stuff. I see Commissioner Gordon in the future. Do you see Commissioner Gordon in the future? The Commissioner is currently dead, so yeah. I really liked that relationship. I liked the Alfred and Batman relationship as well. I enjoyed how we got the father-son relationship kind of dynamic, and I liked how Bruce kind of fought against this dynamic. Like, he really didn't like how Alfred was kind of treating him like a son, but also like that is kind of what they are, like it's the found father trope. And then I liked how when Alfred got hurt, like Bruce was like really, really upset, and he was like, you know, I'm not scared of like dying myself, but the one thing that I am scared of is ever feeling like I'm gonna lose someone I care about ever again. And I really liked that scene. I liked that scene a lot. I really liked their dynamic. I really liked their relationship, and I really think that the Alfred and Bruce relationship is like a cornerstone of the Batman, so I'm glad that they portrayed it well. And anything else that I liked? I liked the guy who played Penguin. He was good. He was really good. I really feel like we got the peak Penguin from the actually Gotham TV series. I just feel like that was like peak Penguin, but this guy did a really good job. He was a darker, not sane, but like you could tell that he was going for more mob boss. I liked it. I really liked it. I really liked Selena Kyle / Catwoman. Zoe Kravitz did a great job. I liked her swagger. I did hear that she tried to play her bi, and I actually did see that, because I feel like Annika, the friend that was murdered within this whole conspiracy plot, because I guess the mayor told her about the rat situation, the Falcone situation. They were definitely an item. They like lived together. She called her baby. So I saw, yeah, totally. She was doing her vengeance quest for her friend. I really liked how that's how she got involved with Batman. I liked how she was Falcone's daughter. I liked her backstory. I thought it played out really well. I think it was great that she left Gotham. I think it would have been really weird if she had stayed after everything. And I liked how she wasn't like full vigilante. She was just like a girl trying to commit heists, but also just trying to like solve her friend / lover's murder. You know, there's so many positive things about this movie. I'm just going to talk about a few things that I didn't like. So as you notice, I didn't really talk up too much about Robert Pattinson's Batman performance. I thought that him in the suit, he did a great job in the suit. I really think that he really honed the Batman energy in the suit when he was just staring. When he spoke, it was very Batman-y. No problems with him in the suit. I wasn't a huge fan of the portrayal of Bruce Wayne in this movie. To me, he kind of felt like a 2000s Edward Cullen twitchy emo boy from Panic at the Disco band, if you know at all what I mean. I don't know why. It just really didn't fit with what I perceive Bruce Wayne to be. Bruce Wayne's not like the most... Bruce Wayne's not Tony Stark by any means, but he is also not like a twitchy reclusive. Like, he is a reclusive, but he's also like a millionaire playboy too. Like, there is some game to Bruce Wayne. There was none to this Bruce Wayne. He was awkward. He was weird. He had a lot of social anxiety, I feel. And I can kind of see how they were leaning a lot into him being the Batman was his actual identity. He was not really Bruce Wayne. He was the Batman. And I actually really appreciated that. I think that was a really good take on it. I could see how the Batman really just took over everything. Bruce Wayne really didn't exist anymore. And when he was Bruce Wayne, he was like a shell of a man. I don't have a problem with that, but I wasn't my favorite Bruce Wayne performance. I don't know, he was just a little bit, I get a little bit cringy sometimes when I just saw how twitchy he was. I don't know how else to explain it. It was like I was seeing Edward Cullen play Bruce Wayne, if that makes any sense. And I know that Robert Pattinson's face is Edward Cullen's face, so I get it. Maybe it was just hard for me to separate, but it wasn't my favorite iteration, if that makes sense. I can see where they were going. I completely understand. I wish that maybe he'd just been a little bit more separation between Batman and Bruce Wayne, because I do feel like those are alter egos, right? And I sometimes think that though I understand what the movie was going for, we also have to remember that because they're alter egos, you kind of have to treat them a little bit different. And I hate to say this, but think about Miraculous Ladybug for a second. Ew, I know. Hear me out. When you see Marinette as Marinette, she is quite different from Ladybug as Ladybug. Even though they're the same person, when she puts on the costume, she's different. That's kind of what it should be. The costume should be a bit of a different alter ego. And I just felt like Bruce Wayne and Batman were too closely linked. Even though I know they're the same person, I know it's weird to explain my reasoning of this. I just know that I wasn't a huge fan of the Bruce Wayne portrayal, but I really like the Batman portrayal. That's that. I also, don't come for me, did not like the Catwoman and the Batman's relationship. I really didn't. All I can say is that every time they kissed, it felt like they shouldn't be kissing. And I also didn't really understand why they were kissing. They kind of came out of nowhere. It was weird points for them to kiss. There was no really development of even any kind of sexual attraction, at least in my eyes. I know that they had moments where they were standing very close. I know that he peeked on her when she was getting changed, which boy, that was weird. Yeah. And I understand that there was the moments there. I didn't feel it. I didn't feel the chemistry. TBH. I know people were talking about it, but I really didn't feel anything. I was bored when they were kissing. I was bored with their scenes. I couldn't care less about their relationship. And it's not like I'm not someone who doesn't care about relationships. I love shipping. If you give me a great ship, I will ship the night away. Okay, I love it. But I really didn't feel it there, TB. I just didn't feel it. I really thought it should have just been platonic, honestly. Even though I know that relationship is not purely platonic. I just feel like there's better ways to do it. And this was actually not, I just didn't like it. I was confused every time they were kissing. I don't know. And I shouldn't be confused every time they're kissing. It just felt awkward. It felt weird to me. It just felt like there was nothing there. And it's no fault to the actors at all. They did a great job in their respective parts. I just personally feel like the movie itself was not meant to be a romance, and every time that they would kiss, it was just, it was weird. Like, I understand that there's a lot of sexual attraction there and that their relationship is actually based a lot on sexual attraction, but I just didn't even feel the sexual attraction, honestly. I just didn't feel it. Maybe it's because, like, honestly, I felt like the way that Robert Pattinson played the Batman, he felt very, like, asexual to me. I don't know why. Like, he just didn't feel like he had a lot, like, he wanted any sort of, like, sexual relationships or, like, anything like that. Every time, like, Catwoman would kiss him, he looked like he was, like, not enjoying it. I don't know. Like, I just feel like this Batman shouldn't be with anyone just because of the way that, like, Robert Pattinson portrayed him. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. Anyways, I didn't like that. That was one of the few things I didn't like about this movie. I also felt like, I do think at times it could be like it was a bit too long. There were times where I felt like maybe the movie was like overstretching itself. I really appreciated the time that they took with scenes, and I really appreciated how, like, you know, some scenes were very drawn out. I get it. Like, I understand the vision, but it was a very long movie, and I think we could have coped it down just a little bit. There were some things that were a little bit unnecessary, but, like, not a huge critique. I think the last thing I want to say is that I really wasn't a fan of the soundtrack. Mostly because I think it was like the same 5 songs over and over and over again on repeat. It was like Ave Maria and then a few instrumental. And I like a variation in my songs. I think that the songs themselves weren't bad. I just didn't want to hear them in a 3-hour movie over and over and over again. And maybe this is just a me exclusive problem, because when we went to the fan first event, they played 10 minutes beforehand. They had like this countdown clock, and they played the soundtrack over the countdown clock, and it had like different pictures going over it. And I think that's probably why the soundtrack annoyed me more, because I was well aware that they had played basically every song on that soundtrack in the 10 minutes before, except for like Ave Maria, and the 10 minutes before. And then I realized that they kept repeating it in the movie, and I had already become like acclimatized to it, so I could just like see them doing it over and over again. And like, it's not like I'm a huge music person in movies. Like, I don't really care too much about soundtracks, but that to me was like a little bit annoying. I'm not gonna lie, it annoyed me just a teensy bit, but like, it didn't impede my enjoyment. It was just like a tiny minor annoyance. Yeah, that's pretty much all my complaints. I really think this was a very solid movie. Like, overall, I would go see it again. I really think they did a great job. I'm very excited to see where this, it's probably gonna be a trilogy goes. Let me know if you know if it was Joker or Scarecrow in that sale, please. And yeah, let me know what you thought of this movie if you did watch it. I think that we're onto something great here, and if this is the future of DC, then like, yeah. But also, DC Batmans are always better than the rest of DC, so like, this could mean nothing for DC, TBH. I probably won't go see any of the DC movies. Aquaman 2. I did see Aquaman 1. I could go see Aquaman 2. Probably won't. I saw Noah Centineo in a trailer for the DC universe. What the fuck is Noah Centineo doing in a trailer for the DC universe? Tell me why. He's supposed to be a Netflix boy. Get out of the DC universe. I don't even like the DC universe that much, but get out. Leave. Go back to Netflix. Go make To All the Boys I Loved Before 4. That doesn't exist. Go make it. Jesus Christ. Noah Centineo. What are you doing? Get out of my... Go. Anyways, just so you know, Noah Centineo's invading DC. I hope that you're happy about that. DC Universe, not DC as in Washington, DC. To clarify. Just in case the president's watching this and he gets scared. That's it. It was a really good movie. And I think that they're onto something here. So thank you for watching, and I will talk to you again in the next one. Bye.